Welcome to this lesson on kites. Remember, a kite is a quadrilateral with two pairs of adjacent congruent sides. And remember, adjacent just means next to. So the top two sides, they're next to each other and they are congruent. And then the bottom two sides are also congruent to each other. The angles of a kite sum to 360 degrees because it is a quadrilateral. And in a kite, two angles will always be congruent. And it's going to be these two angles here. They are congruent. The diagonals of a kite are perpendicular. So this diagonal and this diagonal, they form four right angles. Okay, so let's try some examples. So in number 1, it says to solve for x, and these sides are congruent, so that means the expressions that represent the lengths of those sides are equal, so we can set them equal to each other. It doesn't matter which expression you write first. Okay, so I'm going to start by subtracting 2x from both sides. And then I'll subtract 2 from both sides. So x equals 22. Okay, in the next example, it says find the measures of the missing angles. So in a kite, these angles are congruent. So both of these angles will be 107 degrees. To find the last angle, we know that the measures of the angles of a kite sum to 360 because it's a quadrilateral. So I can add the angles that we have together, 107 plus 107 plus 30. That gives me 244, and I can subtract that from 360. All right, and that gives me 116. So the last angle is 116 degrees. All right, in example number 3, it says solve for y, then find the measures of the two angles. So these angles are congruent, so I can set the expressions that represent the measures of those angles equal to each other. I don't need the parentheses, I don't need the degree symbol. All right, so I'm going to start by subtracting y from both sides. Then I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. So y equals 32. Then to find the measure of the actual angles, I just need to substitute 32 in for y in both expressions. So 32 plus 52, that gives me 84 degrees. And I know this one has to be the same, so it's also 84 degrees. All right, and then in the last example, it says find all side lengths. So in this example, we're only given diagonal pieces, but I do know that the diagonals create right angles because they are perpendicular. So really we have 4 right triangles. So I'm just going to draw this one separately here. So in order to find a missing piece of a right triangle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this is my a and my b. The hypotenuse has to be c. So let's write our formula first. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. 3 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. So let's say 3 squared is 9. 5 squared is 25. And I can add those together. 34. And then my last step, I need to take the square root of both sides, which gives me about 5.8. So this side is 5.8, And then this side will also be 5.8 because remember, in a kite, the top two sides are congruent and then the bottom two sides are congruent. Okay, so let's do the same thing with the bottom right triangles. So I'm just going to put that right here. So 5 squared plus 9 squared equals c squared. So 25 plus 81 equals c squared. So that would be 106 equals c squared. And then I'm going to take the square root of that, and that gives me about 10.3. All right, so I'm going to erase this so I can write the actual side lengths. So this is 10.3, and then this side will also be 10.3. Okay, you can stop the video now and go ahead and complete kites practice and check it with your teacher.